Hey there, come on in. Come on in and share this broadcast. Do me a favor. Say hi. Come in, share the broadcast, like it. Do some great stuff. Let people know that we're here. We are talking confidential conversations. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Tanya Walker. I'm the author of the great book, Confidential Conversations, and what I'm doing at this very moment is sharing this broadcast. So do me a favor and do the same. Share the broadcast. Let somebody know that we're here. We're here every Tuesday. Hey, Cynthia, girl, I hadn't seen you in a while. Hey, Toya. Hey, Del Deso. Love to see you when you jump on my broadcast, brother. Thank you for joining me. Come on in, everybody. Share the broadcast. Cynthia, it's been a minute. Share the broadcast. Let everybody know that we're here. Today we are talking from a very touchy subject for me. It's always a touchy subject for me, and I'm hoping it's going to bless somebody as I share. It's been a difficult day today, and I think this is a part of why God is allowing me to talk about this day. I surrender all. So we're going to be talking about it. We might have some real-time talk about what's happened today. Thank you, Dale, for liking the video. Guys, if you can like and share this broadcast, let people know that I'm here. We are here every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're talking conversations from this book that I wrote. It is Confidential Conversations. It's 21 conversations that I wrote. I had with God. It was during a season in my life that he was processing me. God was taking, that's what we're going to talk about today too, being processed for purpose. So we were I was in this place where God decided enough was enough. I'm tired of you doing what you want to do. And so now we have to go through this process. And so it was 21 conversations. Not all of the conversations were great. Hey, Kedra, some of the conversations beat me up. They made me reflect on who I was as a person. And I wasn't as nice as I had come across to be. Some of the conversations, I had some aha moments. So in these conversations, it's my hope to share, hey, James, what I've gone through, with hopes that every woman and even you men who are on the broadcast can begin to unveil what you're hiding behind. Hey, Errol, celebrity superstar on Steve Harvey show. Listen, so just like women, men have masks too. You guys should, have them in different ways. So we all have these masks, and masks are, facades that we put up. They are hidden hurts. They are disappointments. They are failures. They're fears. They are things that keep us from moving forward. And oftentimes, if not all the time, it's moving forward in the things of God. Because that's our purpose. And so we put on these masks. And so that's what this book talks about. It talks about the mask that women wear. And guys, you should get this book. I promise you, if you have a woman that's in your life and you don't understand why she's going through some of the stuff she's going through, this is a great book that you should buy her and let her know that there's something out there that can help her get through this process. And so we go through this process. And so while I'm not going day by day, it's a 21-day devotional. I'm not going day by day. I'm literally going by as the Lord leads me to go. But then know this, I'm only going to do the last 4 installments of this book throughout the rest of this month. So that's next Tuesday for the next 2 weeks. So we're going to do this for the next 2 weeks, and then I'm going to shut it down, and I'm going to finish the last 9. So we have 9 more chapters that are coming out of this segment that will close out Confidential Conversations, and then there's going to be a sneak peek into something brand new, because God, as you grow in God, you begin to evolve, and you go through a metamorphosis. He won't let you stay in this state that you're in. If you're willing to watch this, surrender all, God will not allow you to stay stay in the state that you're in. He will allow you to go through a metamorphosis. And so I'm going through a metamorphosis, trust me. So the last conversations that we talked about, I don't even remember what we talked about yesterday or Tuesday or whatever. But I want to just talk about the word really quick as I get into the segment. Being processed. I talk about it a lot in the book, being processed for purpose. You hear it a lot. I stole it from a friend, and I've already given her credit. But listen, we talk about being processed for purpose But what does it really mean to be processed? And so I looked the word up as I was writing the book, and it says being processed takes on a series of actions or changes or functions to bring about a result. And so as God is processing us for purpose, we are going through a series of events. Right? Some events, of course, are not the events that we like. They're not the things that we want to do. They're not the things that we want to give up. And so when we're being processed, there is a period where the clear meaning is for you really, when you're being processed, it's your reason for life. It's one of those things, Dale, I can't invite you into this broadcast. It's one of those things, it's our responsibility when we're being processed to search God out and find out what is it that he's asking us to do. And whatever that thing is, hey Mace, whatever that thing is that he's asking us to do, check this out. We, at that point, when he discloses it, when he begins to process us, we have to pursue that thing with all that we have. So when God began to reveal what he was doing with me and through this period, I will tell you this. First and foremost, I hated the process. I fought the process. And as I fought the process got harder. So that's one key to learn, that as you're going through what God is taking you through. Sharon, do you know I love when you jump on my broadcast? When you're going through what God is taking you through, right? 9 times out of 10, you're going to fight it and you're not going to welcome what he's going to do, because he's going to show you some stuff about you that's not good. And so I fought this process, and the process didn't get easier, it got worse, okay? So the more you fight it, this is a hint, the more you fight it, the worse off it gets. If you stop fighting, it eases up. So what he was saying when he was processing me, he was shifting me. So he was taking some of the things out of me that were no good. He was removing any baker who bakes a homemade cake. I love this analogy. When you're baking the cake, you use the flour. And as you're sifting the flour, when you're finished, you have these clumps, the part of the flour that you can't use. That's what God is doing when he is processing us for purpose. He is sifting us, and he's shifting us into the place that he needs us to be. And oftentimes, there's some stuff in us that we have to leave back. So that's a part of the process. Then he begins to change you. And so he led me to Jeremiah. And I used to read Jeremiah from one perspective, from a perspective of purpose. When I first started writing the book, I read it now from a different perspective. But when he took me to Jeremiah, what God did with Jeremiah, and if you know that story, he called Jeremiah, of course, before he was born. We all know that scripture, before you were born, I called you. And so in that, he called him, he trained him, and then he sent him out. So that's a part of your process. And I'm going to get to I surrender all. That's a part of your process. God will call you if you're willing to answer. When you answer him, then he has to train you. That's that place you go. Remember, we talked about in your development period. So sometimes, if not all the time, you're going to be forced into a wilderness. You're going to go into this wilderness. That's your training. Once you've gotten the training, then, listen to this, then he sends you out. So with Jeremiah was going through it. And he had begun to test him. He called him. And when he called him, Jeremiah said, look, and this is just how he said it. I just read it. He said, look. He said, God, look, like, I'm just a kid. Like, what you calling me for? Because I'm not ready for what you're about to do. And many times when we're being called into this place, we're not ready because we're still doing what we're doing. And so God called Jeremiah, and I'm giving you a setup before it, right? God called Jeremiah. He had to train Jeremiah. He trained his eyes. And so here I am. So here's what happens. So God will give us, when we're going through the process, he will give us a glimpse, a vision of what's to come, right? Hey, Misty, he's going to give us a glimpse or a vision of what's to come. That's just like he did with Jeremiah. But just like Jeremiah, and then we move from Jeremiah to Paul, we don't like what God is doing. When we're going through a process, when God is processing us for purpose, we don't like it. We don't like the pain. We don't like the pressure points that he put on us. We don't like the road that God chose for us. And so we, like Paul, begin to cry out and say, God, look, can you take this thorn from me? And so this is what I was doing in this process. And so as I'm going through this process, and for those of you who don't know, we are talking confidential conversations from my book. It's a 21-day devotional. Yeah, 21-day devotional. It's about me, but it's about every woman that puts on a mask and hide. It's about every woman who is running from purpose and all that other good stuff. And it gets you to this place where you begin to love you for you authentically. But anyway, so we're at this place in the juncture of the book where God really forced me. And listen to the words that I say, ladies and gentlemen who are here. God forced me to surrender. I didn't want to surrender. He forced me. And so when he put these pressure points, so you ask him to remove the thorn, right? So I'm going to ask you a question. How do you cope with what he's doing to you and through you? So I don't know where you are in the season of your life. If you're in this place where things are beginning, you feel like you're in this wilderness, you feel like you're struggling, you hear God, but you are so afraid of what it's going to be, what it's going to take to surrender to him. You don't. So how do you cope with what he's doing with you when he's starting to shift some stuff, when your phone stops ringing, when your friends start to fall off, when the relationship dies down, when whatever it is that you're doing, the job comes to an end? How do you cope when God is removing these things? Because remember, we talked about Tuesday that God sent the army in Joel 2. We always talk about Joel 2:24, 22 through 24, but we don't ever talk about the beginning chapter of Joel 2 where God sent the army because of what we were doing. And so what do you do? How do you cope when he starts to do these things, when he allows these things or he sends these things to you? How do you cope? That's a question that you ask yourself. And so for me, and I thought about this song. I don't know, ladies, how many of you remember that song, How Do You Ease the Pain by Lisa Fisher? Remember she said, how do you ease the pain? How do you ease the pain when it hurts so bad? When what you're going through, you're supposed to be growing through, but it hurts really bad. And you're, again, like Paul, you're saying, God, I trust you, but man, this hurt. I trust you, but I don't like the pain. I trust you, but I don't like the fact that I don't have people calling me anymore. My friends are changed. They don't, they're not the same people. I'm different. How do you cope? And that's a real question that, that every one of us need to ask. And so real simple is surrender. And that's what God had to say to me. You surrender and you submit. You surrender and you submit. Two different words. Sometimes we use them. People use those words and try to use them as the same word, but they're not the same. You can't submit until you're able to surrender. You cannot submit to a thing until you surrender to a thing. Got it? I'll say it one more time. That's the preacher teacher in me. You cannot submit to it if you don't surrender to it. So you can't submit to God if you don't surrender to him. And so here it is. God is saying to me at this juncture in my life, Latanya, I need you to surrender to me. I need you to surrender everything that you're doing, surrender your will so my will can be done. Surrender what you want to do so I can do what I need to do. And when you surrender, then you will have it in you to submit to me. Then you'll love me enough to submit to me. And so that's where we were. He said, surrender and submit to the process of being processed. So I just told you what processed was, right? Being processed. Hey, Mark, good to see you, brother. Being processed is going through a series, listen to this, a series of actions, changes, or functions to bring about a result. So you have to surrender and submit to the process of being processed for purpose. So I gave you all that setup. I gave you all of that setup about Jeremiah. I gave you the setup about what the word process meant. Jeremiah was called. Jeremiah didn't want it. So God had to process him. He was called, then he was trained, then God sent him out. God had to ensure that that Jeremiah could see what he saw. God was not going to send him out, and this is in the book, God was not going to send him out until he knew that he could see what he saw. Because in there, if you go to chapter 1 and verse 13 or 14 or 11, he says, now he was ready. He saw that Jeremiah was ready. So in the process of being processed, you got to surrender. Jeremiah had to surrender at the fact that he was only a boy. I had to surrender at the fact that, Lord, this is what you're doing. I don't like it. I don't like what's going on. I don't like that my stuff is being taken. I don't like the fact that you've now called me Job. I don't like the fact that I'm now Jonah. I don't like the fact that I don't like what you're doing. But I had to surrender my will. And that's what God, so many of us are in this place where we can't move forward. And listen to me, we're in the last 25 days of the year. You're in this place where and I say this on my prayer broadcast, you're in this place where you can smell purpose. You can smell everything that God said. You can see the stuff that God told you, but you can't get there. Hey, Pastor Sylvia, you can't get there because you won't surrender to the thing that God told you. He said, I need you to surrender your will so I can do what I need to do for you. But because you're too busy trying to take care of it on your own, you too busy from Tuesday. You can't trust my time, and so you're going to try to make that thing work. I need you to surrender. And so in this, God, I started thinking about this as I wrote this. And how many of you know about, and I know we all do because we 21, all of us 21 at least. So listen, remember the cops and robbers, the cowboys and Indians, the old Westerns, and how the cowboys and Indians would go through this thing and the Indians would run. Indians were the good guys and the cowboys was the bad guys. And so the Indians would run and they would get backed up into this place or whatever. I probably have, but they would get backed up into this place where they couldn't move. And the cowboys was the bad part. Anyway, y'all know what I'm saying. So in this, hey cousin, they would get backed up into a corner to the place where the police or the sheriff would say, surrender, right? This is what God is saying to me. This is the analogy he gave to me. He's saying surrender, hands up, hands up. Hands up. You quit. That's what God said. When you surrender, your hands are up. That means you can't put your hands on nothing. So God was saying, I need you to hands up. Just like the sheriff and the cops and robbers, God is saying, I need you to hands up. Quit trying to take this thing on your own. I need you to surrender whatever it is you're trying to do so that I can get through you. There is Ethra, and I'm a teacher too. I'm a teacher. Ethra is that place of fruitfulness in the kingdom. Ethra is the place of success that we all aspire to be. Ethra is that place where your milk and honey is, the good land, the harvest is there. That's Ethra. We can't get there because we die before we get there because we choose not to surrender. And again, I told you, surrender before you could submit to a thing. Some of you can't submit to a husband because you haven't surrendered to him. I'm going to just leave. Y'all know I like to sip coffee. So you can't surrender. You can't submit because you won't surrender your will. You want to be the head of the house, but he's the head of the house. Surrender your will of being the head of the house and let him do it and submit to it. Then you can submit to it. So that's what God is saying to us. I need you to surrender. I need you to give it up. Quit putting your hands on it. Quit every time you give it to me and you don't see it coming the right way. Just when I take you in a direction that you're not familiar with, don't back up. Keep going. It might not look familiar to you. It's not going to feel right, Paul, because Paul was saying, look, God, this hurt. But he didn't realize that the thorn that God had, he needed to maintain that thorn so God could keep his attention. Because as long as that thorn was there, he stayed at a bowed down spirit. So some of us, God put us in a place where we have a thorn that we can't get rid of because that's the place that God wants to remind us that, hey, I'm here. I need you to call on me. I don't need you to do that thing for yourself. I don't need you to put your hands in it by yourself. So for me being the entrepreneur, for me being the resourceful one, I need you, Tanya, to take your hands off it. I'm going to keep you in this place so I can remind you of it, but I need you to still take your hands off of it so I can give you more than you ever had before. And so I remember as I was writing this, I got ready to go to this conference, this clinic. And I remember in this clinic, and this is when it all came full circle to me. And God began to really speak to me about surrendering. And I remember when I was at this conference and a clinic, and it was a prayer clinic. I didn't know. I just knew I wanted to go to the clinic, right? I took my pad and pencil and I was ready to take good notes, but it was a different kind of clinic. So I get in there and I had this heaviness that was going on with me. And as I'm sitting in there, I hear the Holy Spirit tell me to get up and I go and ask for prayer. And so I'm asking for prayer I get my prayer and I sit down, but I still sense a heaviness on me. Like I couldn't shake what was going on with me because I knew it was something I was supposed to do. Now we're stubborn. Somebody told me I was impatient the other day, but we're stubborn too. I'm very stubborn. But God had to break my will, so his will. So I'm sitting there and I go up for prayer again. And this time I hear a very familiar, by this time, and I'm giving you the story. I'm on my knees and I'm in this Lamaze position. Mamas, you know how it is, but Lamaze position, ready to have a baby. And I hear this voice in my ear, very familiar voice, but I couldn't make it out. And the voice on the other end said, total surrender, total blessings. What if God told you, surrender everything that you have, your will. If you surrender everything that you have, everything that you're trying to do, everything that you want to do, so that I can do it, you'll have total blessings. God told me, LaTanya, total surrender, total blessings. Give it all up. Hands up, I quit. Give it all up. All of what you're trying to do for you. Everything you keep putting your hands in. Everything that you're trying to make happen. Give it up. The relationships you're trying to make happen, the business you're trying to make happen, whatever it is you're trying to do, total surrender, total blessings is what he said. Can you give up everything? Remember, in order to submit, you have to surrender. So I couldn't submit to his will until I surrendered to his will. I couldn't submit to everything God wanted me to do until I was able to surrender to what he needed me to do. Total surrender. And I have to keep repeating that because some of us get it twisted, that we can still kind of keep our hands in it a little bit. Some of us get it twisted thinking that, if God do a certain part, then we can go and pick it up and do the rest. God said, I don't need your help. Yeah, we got to do some stuff, but some stuff is under his unction, it's under his direction that we get to do some stuff. Yeah, he gives us wit. Yeah, he gives us, the ingenuity. He gives us the creativity. He gives us all that. We know faith without works is dead. I got all that. But before you can do all that, you have to be willing to surrender your all so that he could have it. And so he said, total surrender, total blessings. And I remember, I knew at that very moment, and as I'm saying this to you, I'm hoping that you can have a flashback of something that you need to give up. Because at that very moment, as he was saying, total surrender, total blessings, here it was, I began a tug of war. And this is what we do when God says, I need you to surrender so that I can make you better. We begin to have a tug of war, not with God, but with ourselves, because I began to be like Jeremiah. I became Moses. I became all these people. Look, hold on. That's all I know, man. This is my conversation. This is how me and God, man, that's all I know. How you going to tell me to give up the very thing that I know that's all I've ever been able to do? And God kept saying, total surrender, total blessings. Some of us are holding on to some stuff because that's all we were able to ever do. We're holding on to some stuff because that's what you're most familiar with. You're comfortable in this place. And so I want to hold on to that place. I can't let that thing go because if I let it go, I won't be nothing. Not anything, nothing. If I let it go, they won't like me the way that I think. If I let it go, I won't be a part of the in crowd anymore. And so here it was, I'm having a tug of war. God, how dare you ask me to give up the very thing that I only know how to do, that I've only done for the last 20 years? How do you ask me to give up what I know, love, and, the things that I wake up living for? And he kept saying, total surrender, total blessings. That's all I kept hearing in this tug of war. Total surrender, total blessings. What are you having a tug of war with right now? Where is it? And I know a lot of you on this broadcast, God has shown you your next. Your next is right now. God has shown you your next. But because you won't surrender, you can't get it right now. You can't get to Ether because you are having a tug of war. Lord, what if I gave that up? They won't. Come on. I might lose him if I give it up. I might lose her if I give it up. Come on. What is it that you're fighting? Where he's saying surrender. That's why I put because I didn't want to. I didn't want to give up nothing. but I wanted him to give me his all. And that's what we do. We expect God to give us his all, but we don't want to give him anything. He just says, give up this, and I'll give you the world. And we don't want to do it. And so in that place, we have to understand that there were Mary. Who would have ever thought, come on, who would have ever thought this young virgin girl, little po girl, would be the one, hey cousin, would be the one that would hold the Messiah? She had to give up her thought because Mary didn't believe. Like, how you gonna call me? I ain't even had sex yet, Lord Jesus. This Bible, I ain't even had sex yet, and you gonna say I'm pregnant? She had to give up her way of thinking to believe what the angel told her. The Virgin Mary. The angel came to her, and this is what it said: don't be afraid, for you have found favor with God. Some of us have found favor with God, but because we can't fathom the favor, we don't want it. So we're not going to surrender. Mary had to surrender to the fact that, Lord, I ain't never had sex in my life, and you really going to tell me I'm about to have a baby? The angel said, do not be afraid, for you have found favor in God. Can you imagine this young teenage girl who had already been promised to be married? She had already been promised to be married when she was young, right? To this old dude. I'm paraphrasing the Bible. I'm the Message version today, right? So, but who would have ever known that she would be carrying the Messiah? She had to come to grips and surrender to the thought of the angel coming to her and saying, girl, you finna have that baby. You about to carry promise. Come on. I'm just saying. This is real talk. Jacob and Rachel. It's so many countless stories in the Bible that talked about them having to surrender their will so that God's will can be done. Jacob and Rachel. Rachel couldn't even have no kids. She was barren on purpose so that God could bring purpose. She was barren on purpose. God closed her womb on purpose so that a miracle could come through her. Come on, this is real talk. There are some things that God has closed up in you. You're bearing in a place. You can't give birth to a thing because you won't surrender. You can't give birth to purpose. You can't give birth to promise because you're holding on, not want to surrender your will so that God can come through you, so that his will can be done. So I'm going to go back to the question. How do you ease the pain? Because we're going through it. How do you ease the pain of what you're going through? How do you cope with having to give up everything you know? Everything you know. Everything you trust, your wit, your might, your power. And some of us, like me, had great businesses. We have great businesses right now. And those businesses can be better businesses. But there are some things that we have to surrender to. It was something that happened to me today that I was really, really good. Now, I know I'm real transparent, so I'm only going to share if God. I'm going to talk about it in a roundabout way, but if he allowed me to share it, I will. But there were some things that happened to me today. And when it happened, I just immediately began to say, God, I trust you. I trust your process. I trust what you're doing. It don't look like it's doing what you needed to do or what I wanted to do, but I trust your process. I surrender. I submit to your will. I surrender, I submit to your will because I don't understand why it's not happening the way I need it to happen. I don't understand, God. And these are, God, I don't get why it's not clicking yet, right? These are conversations that we're having today. And I was brought back and I had this conversation with somebody on this broadcast now. And we talked about the fervency of the relationship that you once had with God. And Lord, I hope I don't cry. And so as I'm in this process and I'm talking to God, he reminds me of what I didn't do, what I wasn't doing. I trusted him. I had the faith, but I wasn't doing what he asked me to do. There's still so I still didn't really surrender my will so his will could be done. I took it back. That's the mask. That's the unfortunate part about mask. And that's why you have to be cognizant of what's going on in your life. You have to be cognizant when a mask come back. The other day, last week, my mask of fear came back and I had to fight fear and understand where God was taking me, because anxiety was starting to kick in, because I knew that the promise that he had shown me was about to come into effect. And so the enemy tried to mask me again with fear. So you have to understand the mask that you wear. So today he tried to give me a mask of insecurity. A new mask tried to rear its head. Listen to me. The mask of insecurity, because now he was trying to take away something from me. But he reminded me, LaTanya, you surrendered, but you took it back. You didn't fully submit. Many of us are not fully submitting to what God is saying. We're not fully surrendering. We still have that little piece of us that says, yeah, just in case God can't fix it, I got it. That was me. Just in case I got an ace in the hole. I got something. Just in case what you say you gonna do, God. Just in case it don't come through, I got it. I'm good. You didn't surrender. And that's what he had to remind me. You didn't really surrender. Because if you trust me like you say you trust me, you'll let me do what I say. Remember early on I talked about me asking God, where don't I trust you? And the first thing that he said is, you don't trust me to take care of you. That meant provision. So I had to ask him today, this is conversations God and I having all day. God, so you said you was going to do so-and-so, dude, but I don't see I don't see it. These are the conversations. These are real talk conversations today. This is December 6th. These were the conversations with God. God, I don't see what you see. I trust you, but I don't see what you see. You said you were my provider, but I ain't quite get that yet, because what you said was happening ain't quite there. So I'm having these talks, but the enemy is trying to show me the insecurity can come back. Well, can come because it was new. I've never been, I ain't never been insecure. But so he tried to bring on a mask of insecurity of me not being able to take care of myself again. So I'm having these conversations. So that's what you have to do when the enemy starts to throw you for a loop and remind you of who you used to be, or give you a new name. Because see, he was trying to give me a new name. You got to start talking to yourself, talking to God and questioning God. And then God will start to download, because he started to download in me some stuff that I needed to hear. I said, I got you. I said, I got you. So you're going to have to stand there and trust that I have you like I said I have you. When you don't see it, can you really trust him? Look, y'all know the cliche, when you can't trace him, can you trust him? You got to surrender your will so that his will can be done. Surrender your will. What is it that you're holding on to? Let me go back. What is it that you've asked God for that hadn't come yet? And it's just, what have you asked? What we're talking about, y'all, for those who are just coming on, we're talking from my book, Confidential Conversations. It's 21-day devotional. It's, it's one of those books. It's real talk. It's going to make you cry. It'll make you laugh. It's going to make you purge and become who you're supposed to be. Not because I wrote it. It's just real conversation, right? But ask yourself, what is it that you ask God for that you haven't gotten yet? And if you're really honest with yourself, ask yourself, have I really surrendered everything to him so that he could take care of it? Because here's what surrender don't mean, okay? Surrender don't mean you give it to him and you don't get to do anything. Surrender means you give it to him and now you follow his spirit. You follow his lead. And a lot of us women, we don't like to follow. That's why we single, some of us. Some of us single because we got bad attitudes. Some of us single because we don't know how to cook. Some of us, I'm just saying, some of us single because we don't know how to follow. And so we surrender so that we can follow his lead. That's what surrender means. Surrender don't mean you give up everything that you have to do, right? You're giving up everything that you want to do and you're following him. So as you're surrendering, now he's leading you to the place that you need to go. You're surrendering, so now I can hear more. Because now I can hear what you say. I'm in communication with you. I'm lock in step with you, God. What are you talking? I've surrendered to you. I've submitted to you. Now you get to talk to me and I get to hear. That's what surrender meant to me. That as I surrendered my will, now I'm listening closely to what you have to say. I'm following your lead. And so in my following his lead, in these last couple days, because I know, and here's the crazy part. The enemy knows when you're close to your breakthrough. As I get ready to close, the enemy knows when you're close to your breakthrough. And because he knows when you're close to your breakthrough, do you really think he's just going to let you win like that? Do you really think he's just going to let you have what God said you can have? So when you don't begin to see it happening, listen to this. You begin to pick it up again. You're no longer surrendering. I didn't see it happening. I was trying to pick it up. He said, get your hands out of it. Surrender everything that you have so that I can do it. And when you do that, breakthrough is going to come. When you surrender everything, giving up. That's what surrender means. I hear that in my spirit. Surrender means to give it up. Give up what you're doing so that God can do it. And I'm not saying quit your job. I ain't saying throw your business away. I'm saying surrender. Ask God, where have I not surrendered to you? Because what surrender also means, and I'm hearing this too, surrender means to bow. Because when you surrender, you have to get low and stay in communication with him. So ask God, as you go through this process, as you're going through what you're growing through, God, show me where I'm not surrendered to you. Show me where I'm still trying to pick up what I said I was releasing so that you could make it, so that you could, push something out of me. Because remember, he's processing you to become, right? That's what processing means. He's processing you. You're going through these transitions. I was going through these transitions. I was, the bad attitude. I didn't think I really had one. It wasn't really bad. It was just a little sarcastic. I didn't have a bad attitude. I was just very sarcastic all the time. And so he had to take that out of me. There were some things that he had to show me. There were some things that God had to take out of me. He had to process me. He had to prune me. He had to pull some stuff back out of me. That's what he had to. That's the process. Because in order for you to be the fearfully and wonderfully made person, in order for you to be, the good and perfect gift, you got to go through the process. When he created you, he didn't make a whole bunch of you. He just made you. But you got to go through the process. That's the pot and the clay. We become what we want. He makes us. We come back and we remake ourselves. And now he has to break us and remake us like the potter into what he wants. And so in that process, we got to go. We got it. There's some stuff that he has to get out. But we have to say yes to the process. Are you willing to give God? I just heard that. Are you willing to give God your yes to the process of being processed for purpose? Are you willing to give him a full, unadulterated yes? God, I surrender. I can't do it on my own, God. I surrender. I quit. I don't even want to try. And I don't even want to try to do it on my own anymore. I quit. Are you willing to give him your yes so that you can have the world? I'm done. I'm going to leave it for a few questions. I'm going to stay and lag a few minutes because somebody on this broadcast said I don't give y'all enough time to ask questions. So if you have any questions, let me just give you the little church announcements while I see the questions come up. Confidential Conversations, 21-day devotional. I wrote the book. Just 21 conversations I had with God. Go to my website, LatanyaDWalker.org. I'll put it on the broadcast in a minute, but it's Latanya with no O's, D Walker at LatanyaDWalker.org. Also, I want to talk about Mask Unveiled. So we're going to have these real talk conversations, lady. Very intimate conversations. Hey, Tashina. Very intimate conversations. Only 15, 20 women tops will be allowed to come to these mini conversations. And the reason why, the reason why I want to have only 15 or 20 women, not because I can't draw anymore, but because women, we don't like everybody in our business, right? We don't like to share our personal business, our
stories with the world that we're not comfortable with. And so in these intimate settings, we become sisters. We, get a genuine sisterhood going, and we get to talk, we shed, we cry, we prune and purge. And so we're having these conversations. The first conversation is going to be February 9th. I posted it on my website. I've been working with the hotel. I'm excited to give you the hotel when you register. So when you register, the hotel reveal will be delivered to you. Very cute and quaint place, very intimate setting, so that we can sit and have girl talk, and we can just become who we need to be. We can get all of the ugly out of us. We can have these conversations, listen to this, with no judgment, no pretense. That means I won't judge you for telling your story. They won't judge you for telling your story. We can get into these settings where we can talk and be really authentic about what it is that we are trying to get rid of, because there are some hidden things that we all share that we don't want the world to know, but somebody at some point needs to know so that they can help you through your process. And so that's what I aspire to do at these many conversations, is to help you unveil your mask, to get to this place where you are walking unapologetically on purpose, where you don't care what the world says about you. You don't care what you even think about you, because sometimes our biggest enemy is us. We think less of us before the world thinks of us, less of us. And so it's to get you beyond the mask of hurt, fear, failure, the mask of abuse, physically and sexually, the mask of whatever it is that you're carrying, because we carry so much weight. And here's the bad part about those masks. We begin to think that they're truly a part of who we are, because we wear them for so long. We think it's a part of our genetic makeup, and they're not. And so we get so comfortable being fake. We get so comfortable. And I'm not talking about makeup and all that jazz. I'm talking about we instantly, especially women. Men, I don't know if you do this, but women, we are so quick to, if we're not feeling good today, we're so quick to walk in the room and put on this fake smile. Why not just say, I don't feel good today? I'm just not having a good day. We don't do that. Hey, Shantae, we don't do that. We put these masks on and we pretend to be somebody that we're not, so that they don't see that we're broken. And so that's what these conversations are going to be, little intimate conversations that you can say, look, I'm broken. How can I fix me? Do you have a remedy to fix me? And if I can tell you the 21 conversations, that's a start. This book is a start. This is a start to how you go beyond the mask that you're wearing and say, God, I'm broken. And then you get to this place with being okay with being okay. I'm okay now with my kinky hair. I'm okay now with my full lips. I'm okay with everything, the failures and the success. I'm okay with that. And I don't care what you say. And I'm not cocky about it. I'm just okay, because I realize that I don't have to be who you want me to be. All I need to do is be who God called me to be. Whether look, I say this, you're going to either love me or hate me, black or white. Right? Ain't no in between. If you don't like me, if you don't know if you don't like me, you really ain't in my crew. Because see, you go either know if you like. That's what being unapologetic is. Because what they're going to say about you is, you know what? Yeah, she nice, but she gonna tell you how she feel. That's what being unapologetic is. That's what taking off the mask of fake means. Yeah, I don't like that today. Like me and God had a conversation, like, yeah, God, you ain't where we said we were going to be today. These are the conversations that you have to have with yourself and with God to remove masks. You got to get down dirty with who you are. And here's what God told me. This was like last year. I remember praying one day. I keep telling you I'm a preacher too, so I have like 3 or 4 closings. So I remember asking God a question, and he said, and I told him who I was mad. I said I was mad. He said, well, who else are you mad at? And I couldn't think, right? And God told me, he said, you mad at me. And then I had to have this conversation with God. Yeah, you're right. I am mad at you because you got me on Front Street like this. Yeah, I trust you, but I'm still Tupac, and y'all know you got me out here Tupac, and all eyes on me. Everybody looking at me. Everybody want to use so those are the conversations I had to have with God to unveil a mask that I was mad. I was mad with the way I trust, God, I love you, I trust you, but I'm mad at you because you got me out here like this. And he asked me, why not you? Why can't I have you out there like that? What makes you so better than the rest of the people that are out there like that? That you can't be out there on Front Street? Come on. So I had to come to reality that I wasn't no better than the rest of the world because I was, that's what we do. So he said, no, babe, you mad at me. So tell me you mad at me so I can heal you in the place that you're hurt. When you tell me that you're mad at me, I can heal you in that place. So now that you can really start to trust me to take care of you. Because until you come to grips with with me really taking care of you, you're going to stay mad at me. And we can't. So that's what these conversations are about. And I know some of y'all real Christians out there saying, you can't tell God you mad at him. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can tell him. He ain't going to damn you to hell because you say, God, I'm mad at you. I'm just saying, Christians. I'm just saying. I was mad. Real mad. Because I had a life. I had the things that the world thought were the good things. I lived in a nice house. I drove fancy cars. I'm not tooting my horn. I'm just telling you what I had. So I was mad when all that was stripped away. I was mad when my name changed from Latanya to Job. I was mad when my name changed from Latanya to Job and everything left in one fell swoop. Y'all know the story of Job. In one swoop, everything left. That was my story. So you don't think I was supposed to be bitter? So that's how we come to grip. That's how we come to grip in these little mini sessions. We get real with what happened. What happened to you? What happened when they touched you? What part of you left you when they touched you? That now you don't want a husband to touch you, and you married. You married, but you don't want your husband to touch you because there was a part of something that left you when they touched you. We talk about that. We talk about when they hit you. What part of you, what part of that hitting hurt? I know there ain't none of y'all been hit. None of y'all, I know. When they left you, come on, when you had them babies from them and they said they would love you forever and they left you there to take care of them kids with no child support. What happened to you? So I want to talk about those things, the things that really hurt you, that now you bitter because they left. And now those are the things we talk about. To unveil the mask so you can get to that place of being unapologetic, where you can get to that place of really living an authentic life and again not caring. I told y'all, and I'm done for real. For 8 years I took pictures of myself. For 8 years I took pictures of myself because I was in a relationship that was detrimental to me physically and mentally. And had I not healed properly, I wouldn't be able to love another man the way I'm supposed to love, right? But for 8 years, I took pictures of myself, looking in my eyes. And it was not until a week ago, 2 weeks ago now, it was the week of Thanksgiving, that I was able to look in my eyes and see the beauty of God, the glory of God. The Son, his Son Jesus, beam through my eyes because I'm at this place that I'm real comfortable in who he called me to be. I'm at a place where I love me despite what you think. I'm not cocky. I'm not arrogant. Not prideful. I'm not any of that. I'm just a person now that knows that I know who I am, and I'm comfortable with who he called me to be. And it wasn't until 2018. So remember, 2008 is when I started. 2010 is when I started taking pictures of my eyes. And my eyes began to tell the story. Hey, Melvin Holloway, good to see you. My eyes told the story that I was hurt, that I was miserable, that I was broken, that I had hell go through me and in and out of me. But it wasn't until 2018 that I could look in my eyes and see the reflection of God. And that's when I knew I was at a place that I was okay with being okay. That's what I want to help you do. That's what these mask unveil mini talks will do. That's the intent. That's the purpose. Confident. I'm very confident. Thank you, Sylvia. I'm very confident. That's the one word right there. I walk through any door. I'm bold enough to walk through any door. I got faith on fleek. I trust God like I can't ever. I trust him. I get mad at him sometimes, but I trust him. It's just real talk. But that's what these mini conversations are about. Getting you to that place where you talk about what happened with you and how can I get past my past so that I can be better for the people that are coming to me. Because what's in front of you may not be the only thing in front of you. God may be trying to show you a whole different world, but because you have a stank attitude, I'm just talking about me, I ain't talking about none of y'all. Because you got a stank attitude, you can't see the beauty of what's in front of you. You can't see the husband in front of you because you got a stank attitude because the one left you look like him, remind you of him. Come on, I'm just saying. Real talk, real conversations. That's what we're going to have. I'm going to guarantee you some crying. That's what I'm going to guarantee. I'm going to guarantee you some crying. I'm going to guarantee you some laughter. And I'm going to guarantee you some deliverance. I promise you that. You won't come out of that the same. If you're willing to release what you have, what you're holding on to, I guarantee you without a shadow of a doubt, you will be healed and delivered and set free. Because I ain't finna play with you like that. Not on my watch. And I just had to say it like that. I love you guys. I will see you back here next Tuesday for another installment of Confidential Conversations. What we're going to talk about, and I'll just go ahead and share what we're going to talk about next week, because remember, we're in these last 25 days of the year. And so as we go through this last process, you got to surrender so that you can get there, right? And so after you surrender your will to his will, I want to remind you, because God made us some promises, and because we go through the process and because we don't like who we are, we forget the promises that he made. And so I want to remind you that the promise is still in effect. So next Tuesday, we're talking about the promises that he made to you and how they are still in effect. They may be hidden, but they're still in effect. They're right there. You're on the brink of a breakthrough. Harvest is here, but we're going to talk about how you get it. Okay, so join me next Tuesday. Invite some people to the broadcast. Share this broadcast. Even if you shared it once, share it again. Let people know that I'm here every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 o'clock Central Standard Time talking confidential conversations. Talk to you later. Bye.